really grateful that, Robern, you've given up your time for us, because I can appreciate that this time of year is incredibly hectic, but your life just in general is so hectic whenever you're at school. And we know that, we spend so much time with you throughout the year. And to be honest, you're a leader that I've definitely respected and admired for a long time. I think you're welcome. I remember my very early days at YLEAD and seeing you in action, and just the one thing that you always have is presence. And that presence is something that, is definitely hard to teach. So I admire that in you. So thanks so much for giving up your time for us today.
My pleasure.
All right, well, we might kick in. I've got a very familiar face on board here with us today as well, Miss Zoe Meredith-Brown, and I might get Zoe to introduce herself first, just to say hello, maybe your name. Obviously, you also attended St. John's Anglican College, which we're so grateful for. Our original relationship even started when you're under another name as a school as well. So it's so nice that that relationship has continued, and we've seen the school grow and your leadership structures develop so much as well over so many years being connected. But Zoe, what year did you graduate? What leadership role did you have? And if you could describe your leadership journey in 3 words, what would they be?
Yeah, so I actually graduated in 2015, which seems wild because that was 6 years ago now, almost 7. So that's a bit crazy. But I was the chapel prefect at school. And if I was to describe my leadership journey, Bel, don't get mad, it's going to be more than 3 words. But one of the words repeats, so I feel like that's fine. It's forever learning, forever growing, and forever adapting. Those kind of like learning, growing. Yeah, 6, but one of them's the same, so really like only 4.
You hyphenate them?
Absolutely, I hyphenated every single one of them. But I think those really encapsulate kind of what I learned at school, and then what I learned now working for YLEAD. So yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing, Zoe. And Robern, would love you to do a formal intro for anyone that's listening that hasn't had the pleasure of meeting you or admiring your leadership before. Maybe just a little bit of your journey into the role that you're currently in. Obviously, another reminder of what school you're from, but I also would love to know why you're so passionate about leadership. I know you studied leadership as well, and obviously you hold such a big role at the school managing the students' leadership, and obviously in that role then too, you have so much influence on the other executives and the leadership team and staff at the school too. So go for it.
Okay, thanks, Bel. Well, I started teaching in a long time ago, 1985. So that's like 36 years ago. And I taught in some very large Brisbane schools. And I moved to St. John's, and it was Forest Lake College when I first moved here, and we became St. John's in 2011. And why am I passionate about leadership amongst students? Because the youth are our future. I think that we need to capture their passion and enthusiasm at school, as young people. And sometimes youth get a bad rap. Sometimes, people don't say particularly positive things about young people, but they're our future, and it's our responsibility to capture that passion and enthusiasm, and to be good role models to them, and give them something to aspire to, and to also let them know that we value their opinion. And sometimes I'm blown away with the solutions that young people come up with when you give them a problem. And they're just so creative, and I think we need to capture that, because we're not going to be here running these places forever.
It's so true. And I really love hearing you say that, because when I actually think about St. John's and their young leaders, they are so creative. And I guess that comes from you, as always encourage them to think outside the box, to do things differently. And they really do. From my work with them, I feel like they see the impact and how important their energy is in that community that they're serving as well. So it's beautiful what I witnessed there. Zoe, you mentioned that leadership is forever learning. So is there something you've learned about leadership in the past month or the past term you'd like to share?
Yeah, I would actually even go further to say that this is probably what I've been learning all year. I've stepped up into a little bit more of a leadership role here at YLEAD, doing a lot more facilitation. And so I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that there's kind of 2 options that you have. You can either like plan something really, really well and keep sitting in that planning stage and then action it. Or sometimes you've just got to do it and then learn from it and do it again and learn from it. So we know that like leadership is action, it's actually doing things. So I think, what I've learned, and the biggest learning from especially this last term, is the fact that sometimes you've just got to do it and then you'll figure it out and you'll learn from it, rather than just continuing to sit in that developmental stage. Is just to give yourself a crack, give yourself a go, and you'll learn from it anyway.
Yeah, I think that's great, Zoe. I totally agree. I call it the 80-20 rule. Sometimes you can be only 80% ready and that the universe take care of the 20%. And sometimes you just don't have the time to physically plan something just quite as well as you want to. And you think, you know what, we're just going to roll with this and we're going to see what happens. And, you know, it might be fantastic. There might be some things that aren't particularly good, but it's going to be okay.
Yeah, and I think that just comes back to as well, like backing yourself and backing, you know, and that comes from teachers like you and leaders like Bel and those people around you that they have so much confidence in you. And so sometimes you've just got to be confident in their confidence, and that grows on top of you. So
yeah, and sometimes you might be inside like swimming like underneath like a duck and thinking, this is, what are we doing? But you just have to, on the outside, think this is okay, right? This is okay. If I believe in this and everyone else can see that I'm okay, they're going to be okay.
The way you say that is just makes me think so much about, particularly big leadership roles, is because you have to be kind of that calm, confident on the outside, particularly when you think about all the change that we've been through the last 2 years and all the uncertainty. We are those, the leaders are the ones that need to be kind of certain in the uncertainty and provide that hope and that confidence for the team that they're working with as well.
And there's always something you can do about whatever situation you're thrown with. There's always something you can do.
Yeah, I think we forget that as well. We feel helpless, but no, you're so right. It's about them finding out what that is. Robern, is there a leadership lesson for you in the last sort of term or 12 months? Or
well, it's interesting because you did give me the questions beforehand, and I sort of I thought about some of the answers. And it's interesting. I just wrote down. So I wrote down there, we're always learning. And that's something I think, particularly in the last 2 years, we're always learning, and we have to take time to reflect and to listen, because you don't always know the answer. And it's always good to have a good team of people around you who are good listeners as well. And if you've got a good team of listeners, I think you can talk things out and you can come to the best solution at the time. There's never a right or wrong answer or a right or wrong direction to go. I just think that there's the best answer or the best direction to go at the time. And later on you might reflect and think I might have done it a different way, but at the time that was the information you had, and that was the best solution you had at the time. I think that
resonates so much, and particularly in the last 18 months, 2 years, that's what we've always come to, is it might not be the best decision, but right now it's the best decision with the information that we have, and we need to, as Zoe said before, take action. Otherwise you're sitting there doing nothing and just planning and going through it all.
And you have to, and something that I think we're always, well, particularly in the last 6 months, is you cannot please everyone, and sometimes you have to make the decision that is the best decision for the majority of people.
You just said two things there that I respect so much, because obviously we work with so many young people, and I feel like they're the two things they need to hear more often, is it's okay to make mistakes, and you're not going to have all the answers to everything, and you just got to move forward. But is there anything that you've seen lately that you believe, we're trying to be relevant as always and make sure that we're imparting the right kinds of tools and skills to give young people to be the best they can be and to execute this, incredible positive change that we see them do? Is there anything that you think that they're going through at the moment that it needs to be addressed, or we can spend some time on?
I think that one of the skills that young people need at the moment is resilience. I think that there's been a bit of a sense of helplessness with all that's been happening in the world, and I don't think any of us could have thought of the effects of lockdown and sort of being isolated. And I think that if we can make sure that we're instilling that ability to bounce back. So I always compare it to an elastic band that, you know, when your elastic band is stretched, you've got to be able to bounce back again, you know, when you're pushed to your limit. And so I think, yeah, teaching them about resilience is really important.
Is there, I couldn't agree with you more, is there something that you've seen kind of works when we consider, you know, those skills that we do impart in them, or things that you've learned from personally that have really helped you?
I think going on school camp is one of the best ways of learning, or one of your conferences, you know, getting out of the school environment, getting out of the home environment and being pushed. And I think school camp is such a great way for young people to learn resilience and how to test themselves and push themselves. And I've done a lot of the Antipodean trips overseas with students, and you've done them obviously with YLEAD. You have similar trips, and that's when you see them push to the limit, and you'll see kids who underperform at school who blow your mind away on those trips and step out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. Zoe, what about in your experience? Is there anything that you feel, young people sort of need a little bit of a helping hand with at the moment?
Yeah, I think sometimes, and I think this also comes off the back of lockdown, and I think young people now more than ever have had a lot of time to themselves, and maybe they aren't being as social. So they've actually had a lot of time to reflect on the kind of person that they are and the kind of things that they stand for. And I think at Wiley, we often talk about those things of living within your values and doing the things that make you you. But I think what we're starting to see is that maybe they don't fit with those friendship groups anymore. And it's about having those tough conversations. And it doesn't mean you can't be friends with them anymore, but being able to have those tough, vulnerable conversations to say, hey, maybe I am living outside my values right now. Maybe I'm not being the best version of myself. And whether that's because of outside externals or internal, you know, things that are going on with inside you, it's hard. It is hard to have those kinds of conversations with yourself or with others. So I think, now that we're putting so much emphasis on knowing who we are, when we see ourselves straying from that, being able to pull it back and really have those, tough, vulnerable conversations.
They are definitely hard to do. And I know that, over the years, we've started to talk more about how to resolve conflict and how to have those hard and tougher conversations on conference. When you think back to your conference 6 years ago, or the conferences, I guess, now that you facilitate, are there just a quick 2 things that you find most valuable from ASLC?
Yeah, I think for me, it's the people that you get to meet, just like the perspectives and the experiences. I know I went to Forest Lake College in St. John's, the same school, from prep all the way through to grade 12. So I was never the person that had to make friends, because I was always the person that was there first. I had the same kind of friendship group the whole way through, and we all kind of lived very similar lives. And when you go to a conference like ASLC, you get to see so many different types of people who all have very, not similar goals, but they have similar values and visions, and they want the best for other people. And so, meeting those kinds of people, and like kind of meeting your people outside of, as you said, Miss Hinchliffe, those school environments that you can kind of get stuck in, was so valuable for me. And I know St. John's brings lots of students to conference. And so it was actually really important for me. And I loved the fact that the YLEAD staff made it really pertinent that we shouldn't go with our friends, and we should pick groups at conference and pick people to hang out with that weren't inside our friendship groups. And I've still got best friends from my 2015 conference, which was a long time ago now. And I think the second thing for me was just having that really clear vision going into year 12. I think year 12 is a big year, regardless of whether you have a leadership position or not. And that leadership position is that just a little bit of extra responsibility to plan some stuff, or to really bring that united vision. And at ASLC, you get that opportunity to sit down with your group and figure out what's important to you and the legacy that you want to leave. And I think at St. John's, that's such a big thing. Going to ASLC every single year, you see the legacy that the year 12 or the leadership team is going to leave. And so when you go to conference, you're really hyped. You're like, we know we can do this. And so, being able to sit down with the teachers and actually figure out our plan moving forward was the most valuable thing going into year 12. Just took that weight off a little bit as well for the pre-planning going in.
Yeah, and I must thank you as well, Robern, for always being there to show up and take time for your students on those days, because they really value you being there in the space with them, sharing their excitement. This is what we're looking forward to, and you then giving them that guidance of, oh, have you thought about this? Or remember about this when we head back to school. This is going to occur and happen too. So would love to roll on from that if you had anything else to add from Zoe. But also, I think, as Zoe's just said, one of the things that I believe you do the best is continue that momentum from current conference and bring it back to school. So if you could talk on a little bit of that for us as well, that'd be great.
Sure. So one of the reasons that I like sending our students to the conference is that they get that opportunity, as Zoe said, to network with other students from other schools. And I think that that's invaluable to find how other schools work, because people like Zoe who've been at our school for 12 years, they only know one way. And so if they're there with other people, they can see and get ideas about how other schools work. And it's great for them to share these ideas. And they also, as Zoe said, they form great friendships with these people. And I know that they communicate with each other throughout the year, and students will often come to me and say, oh, such and such school's doing blah, blah, blah. Can we do that? And we St. John'sify it and, do it our way. And I think that that's invaluable. And I also love the inspiration and energy that the conference gives the kids. They come back and they're so excited, and they make us do dances on assembly, and you know how much I love that, hey Zoe.
Yeah.
And the way we maintain that enthusiasm, I maintain that enthusiasm, is I have regular check-ins with them, and sometimes we might just need to do a bit of a reset so that we can make sure that they're on track with their ideas. I also reinforce with them, don't overthink things and don't try and change the world. Have one or two things that you want to do, because realistically, that's all you're going to have time to do properly. And one other thing I try to do is I try not to say no to any of their ideas. If I sort of think their ideas are a little bit wild, I'll say to them, will you just tell me how this is going to work and what you'll need from me for this idea to happen. Sometimes things work and sometimes they don't, but that's what it's all about. It's all about trying new ideas and learning through your failure, because that's a really important lesson for them to learn.
So true. I actually got a bit emotional there, because I think that there are, I also agree with you, Robern. Like, the young people are our future, and the more time they get to spend with a leader like you that is encouraging them so much, it is amazing to see what they come up with and what they create. And perhaps that's the key to what we see at St. John's and why they've entered our project action for so many years in a row. They've got so many ideas, is because you are so encouraging in that way. For an educator, a teacher, or someone that might have just taken on a prefect, role looking after the students, when you do those check-ins, is there any sort of structure to them, or how often do they occur? Do you have any advice for someone newly taking on a leadership position with students?
Sure. I find the best thing to do is just do a little follow-up email afterwards to the students and say, just following up, this is what we decided, this is what you said you'd do, this is what I need to do, so that you've got it in writing as well. And I meet with the captains. I have a special meeting with my college captains and vice captains once a week, and then we discuss what's going to happen, and then that's at morning tea. And then at lunchtime, I meet with all the prefects. So it's a weekly basis, because if you think about a term, you lose 1 or 2 weeks a term with exams or various other things with your year 12. So it's important to keep it weekly to keep the momentum going.
That consistency is so important. That's so good.
Yeah.
And speaking of these initiatives or things, Zoe, do you have any examples that you'd like to sort of showcase that you were kind of just taken back by the energy, or something that came from ASLC that had an impact in the St. John's community?
Sorry.
For me or for Zoe?
Let's go both of you. But Zoe, do you want to kick in? Yeah.
Thanks so much. Well, mine is actually, I think, at ASLC, one of the things you learn about is communication styles and the VKT things that you can do to get people involved. And so one of the biggest things was Hinchliffe said it before, but lots of the time when we come back, we're so hyped. At ASLC, you dance so much just to get all that energy out. And so I just remember one year at the swimming carnival, the seniors coming back and standing on the other side of the pool. All the other students were on the other side, the pool's in the middle, and they put on their Y-Lead song from that year and they just busted it out. And it was the most energetic. It got everyone involved. People that were sitting down, not even doing any races that day, were up on their feet dancing. And it was literally just from a simple dance that got people involved that maybe, you know, didn't want to do the swimming carnival, but they had a positive experience that day because people thought outside the box. They thought about how can we, maybe they don't want to do this physical thing, but we can still do something physical with them. Or I always remember in my year, I vividly remember at ASLC, Bel, you talking about giving them something tangible to take away. And so on our first day, we have 4 house colors. And so we wanted to have this theme about the block and building from the ground up. And so we gave everyone a Lego piece with their house color on it so that they could carry it with them for the rest of the year. And so I think, yeah, it's all the little things that, really bring the community together, and you learn all of that at ASLC and how that can really impact a community. But yeah, that one, and I think I would have been in like grade 8 or 9 when that happened. And I vividly remember them doing that dance. And then when I went to conference, we did a similar dance, and I was like, this is where they learned that. Like, that's so much fun.
Over to you, Robern.
Well, and then they come back to us, and then we have to learn the dance. And you know, sometimes I might need a little bit of extra help. There's a few projects that we've done, and some of them have stuck. So there's the St. John's Superstar Award. Although they didn't do it this year, but it has been around for a long time. And then there's the St. John's Who Are We chant that I can't remember which year level started it, but now it's huge. And we do this as the way that we start the Guard of Honour for external exams down here in the courtyard. The grade 12 stand around the fountain, they get the drum out and they do the drumming, and the kids all clapping and the who are we. And so that was something that started through the conference. And one other that sticks in my mind was the 2010 crew, and they did a toothpaste and toothbrush drive for a group in Inala that did little packs for women and children who were running from domestic violence. And they were so enthusiastic about it. And I thought, oh, well, if we get a basket full of, toothpaste and toothbrushes, we've done well. We had 10 baskets full. And it was just because this pair who were the college captains, they just, I don't want to use the word nag, but they, they just, wherever they went and visited home group after home group, and, they hard work, but they got it, and it was fantastic. It was such a great achievement. I remember the day that everyone brought it to assembly and they went around with the baskets, and we didn't have enough baskets. So yeah, that was tremendous.
That's so great to hear. I love that. I also, love, Zoe, that what you mentioned, wasn't even the year that you went to conference. It's like you saw this evolution of it happening years before you were even in that senior role. And Robern, when you talk about the chants and the who are we, we work with some of the biggest schools in Sydney, and they're like university size, and their chants are massive. To know that it's happening sort of, in a smaller scale school, and how much impact that has is incredible too. All right. Final question. I put this one in here because there is sometimes this kind of, it's scary being a year 12 student and sitting in your office. And Zoe spoke before about the fact that, I know both of you did, that we, as leaders, we really need to listen more, and we need to listen to each other more. So if there's something that you could share with young people that you wish all young leaders that took on a badge position really knew, what would that be?
So you go first.
Well, I'll answer for the opposite. So Bel asked me about what, executives or people like yourself, essentially, if what I wish they would know from a student perspective. And I think for me, it's that I remember going through grade 12, and it's such a hectic time. There's so much going on, and you want to have so much influence and have so much impact. And it wasn't until after I left that I realized that wasn't possible without people like you or the other educators that are watching this backing and supporting us. But I think I wish that I could go back and be more grateful and be more present. And actually, I think there's so many students out there that just forget to say thank you to people like you, just for the guidance and the support. And I know that sometimes we don't show it because it goes so fast. If you're senior year, I know it's cheesy, everyone says it, it literally flies by. But there are so many people that are impacted by great leadership that don't get recognized. And so, yeah, I think if there was one thing that I could tell the executives or the leadership people in leadership at schools from a student's perspective, is that we are really thankful. And sometimes we just don't stop to say that because we're doing so much other stuff, and we really do value your input and your validation on what we do. And yeah, as you said before, you are definitely someone that does not put down any of our wild ideas, because I know some of them are definitely very wild, but more redirect us to realize what we want to achieve. But yeah, I think if there's anything, it would just be that we are so thankful for the opportunities that you give us, because I know that I definitely wouldn't be sitting in the office right now if it wasn't for you even giving me a leadership position or for sending us to conference. So thanks.
Oh, you're welcome, Zoe. We do it because we love the job. And quite often, I think that's probably a thing with teaching. You quite often don't get the thanks until later, but you know that that later on people will reflect and they'll realize the opportunity that they've been given. So thank you, Zoe. What would I like, a message that I'd like to give to future leaders? I guess a couple of things, but I think the main one is, I think I said it before, you can't do too much, and whatever it is that you're going to do, just try and do it well and try and achieve one or two outcomes in the year. Don't come in with 10 ideas that you think you're going to be able to implement in that year. You'll only have enough time to do one or two, so do one or two properly. That will make an impact. And you have to also, it's important to build the team spirit. And I remember that situation that you were talking about, Zoe, where they did their Wiley song on the other side of the pool. And it was fantastic. They'd been practicing, and I think they videoed it, and that's why they all knew it so well. And it was fantastic, and it really made a big impact, didn't it? So I think it's also very important for you all to be a team. And I think that's really hard for young people sometimes, because they all come in with they haven't had the experience to realize that they've got to sit and listen and take on other people's ideas. And sometimes you can't do everyone's ideas. And sometimes the captains or the vice captains have to make that really tough decision that we're actually not going to do that. This is the way we're going to do it. And I would like you all to get on board with the way we're going to do it, because leaders have to make tough decisions sometimes. So I think that's a tricky one. That's something that they quite often don't deal with very well, and particularly if it then everyone starts getting on the social media and talking about it and getting a bit cranky about the fact that their idea hasn't been taken on. That can be a bit difficult as well. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a bit of advice for leaders. It can be very difficult at times.
Invaluable advice. Well, thank you both so much. Thank you for bringing us into your leadership, but also the way of the world at St. John's Anglican College. So very grateful for it, and we can't wait to see your students in 2022.
They're excited too.
Good to hear.